Urijah Faber, he was my teammate at first.
I'm here today at Fitness Quest 10.
Coming up from San Diego to the jail to visit me.
Kind of like one Friday, but...
Life in society in general, you don't want to like talk about the real shit.
Right. I'm Jeff Bristol. Yeah, I'm the D1's guy.
It was when I started using meth and heroin. I was using it by myself in a bathroom. It was an addiction.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Inside the Fitness Studio, where we go behind the scenes to interview the fitness professionals that you love. I'm here today at Fitness Quest 10, sitting here with Jeff Bristol. Jeff, thanks for letting me be here, man.
Man, it's a pleasure and an honor. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm glad that we can make it happen. It's the middle of the day Friday, which is not the easiest time, being that you guys are very busy. But we're here in the second story because Fitness Quest is two parts, right? This is the original, though, right?
The original facility, yep.
So when did this open? When did that happen?
Yeah. January 2000, this space opened up. Todd Durkin.
20 years.
Yeah, Todd Durkin, the owner and founder of Fitness Quest 10, close friend and mentor and boss of mine, opened up this facility, and I've called this place home for the last 9 years. It's cool to hear, just where it all began, and Todd started training people right here and then hiring people and expanded downstairs to our other facility that and
so that gym at one point was taken over, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was something else.
That was a 7-Eleven, actually.
Built it up and then took over to 7-Eleven. You don't see the 7-Elevens getting kicked out a lot.
I guess so.
If it was a Starbucks though and you did that, oh man, it would
people
be
would be
crushing
pissed. Yeah,
right.
totally.
So I'm excited to be here again.
Yeah.
We're just talking to you guys and we're just drinking the beverage of choice. Tell us what we're sipping on today and why we're doing that.
So I picked a familiar beverage of mine. It's called the Celsius Heat. And
extra heat.
Yeah, it's not for the faint-hearted. Actually, it's 300 milligrams in this bad boy right here.
Might make you faint-hearted.
Yeah. So I always joke when I'm like needing a little pick-me-up before a workout, or before I got a whole lineup of classes or sessions, I'll go to the fridge, grab a Heat. Say, it's Heat 30 somewhere, let's go, crack it open and
throw it down, cheers. Let it run. No,
cheers.
I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be doing this, man, for sure.
Me too.
Now, you mentioned something, Todd Durkin, right? Obviously a big name in the fitness community.
Absolutely, yeah.
Really started Fitness Quest 10, but you actually didn't know anything about this, right? You had no idea who Todd was. Fitness Quest is known for high-profile athletes. Todd Durkin, big energy, big name. Correct me if I'm wrong. You moved down the street and you're like, I guess I'll see if I can find a job. Go ahead and tell me a little bit about that.
Totally. Like if I look at our trainers right now, our 15 trainers, literally I think every single one of them has been hired through our internship program. And our interns come here because they've been referred or heard about Todd or Fitness Quest 10 in the internship program.
Right.
And my story of how I found Fitness Quest 10 is very different than, most people. And I like telling it because it was almost like, serendipitous, or, like it was like meant to be, or I needed it. It came to me in my life, kind of when I needed it the most, I guess. And so, yeah, I had moved to San Diego. I had moved down here to start living with a girl that I had started dating, now my wife. And she happened to live just a half a mile down the street. Her condo was a half mile down the street. So I moved here to Scripps Ranch, had no idea, who Todd Durkin was or what Fitness Quest 10 was or anything. And I used to come up here to the store and I would see, our classes running laps around the building and stuff, and be like, kind of, what's that?
Get out of the way.
Yeah, I'm like, oh man, that gym is, I was looking on Craigslist for some entry-level jobs, and I found an advertisement for Director of First Impression.
Director of First Impression.
Yep. And that is the title of our role.
It's like, okay, cool.
So it's Director of First Impressions, and that's the title of our front desk position here at Fitness Quest 10.
That sounds so much cooler than front desk.
It is.
Would you want to work front desk? No. Would you like, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I can do that.
Well, because then, what we kind of pride ourselves on, and that's one thing that I think, we try and do differently. This is like, we pride ourselves on having impeccable customer service and amazing culture and community. So that Director of First Impressions title kind of adds a little bit more to the role.
Yeah.
So it even caught my eye. I'm like, Director of First Impressions, like, what is that? What is Fitness Quest 10? And then I looked up the gym, and so I came in here and dropped off my resume, and kind of like the rest is history. I got hired at the front desk, and yeah.
Awesome, dude.
Yeah.
I'm actually from here. I'm not too far away from Fitness Quest 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
Temecula to me was always different. Tell
Yeah.
me what Temecula means to you, what it was like growing up there. Because to me, that's like Pop Warner football weigh-ins and wineries.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah. And Temecula is a great area, known for wine country and golf courses, and people go out there and spend the weekend now and stuff like that. But for me, growing up, Temecula was kind of I would want to say like a smaller town than obviously San Diego. So I moved there like in kindergarten or something with my parents. My parents are from San Diego.
Okay.
And we moved up to Temecula. There was only one high school. It was a great community for me to grow up in as a young kid. And
Yeah.
I went to a private school that my mom taught at. And so it was like,
There you go.
kind of like smaller town. It continued to grow as I was growing up there.
And you were a wrestler.
I wrestled.
Yeah, you were a Temecula wrestler.
Yeah.
Dan Henderson's like a big deal to you.
Yeah,
Right?
Dan Henderson is actually, I've known Dan for a long time. He's got a MMA gym up in Temecula, and he actually, in the beginning of his MMA career, was using our high school wrestling room at Temecula, for
Wild.
practice.
I mean, that's
room.
enough to get you hype alone.
Totally, yeah. My dad did some work and framed his house out there in the wine country and stuff like that. So
Cool.
wrestling was a big part of my childhood. Played a lot of sports, and it's kind of funny that me and my brother ended up in wrestling. It was kind of through a family friend.
Okay,
that we
so it
got-
wasn't like drilled in. Dad's like, everyone's wrestling. This is a wrestling
No.
family. Me and your sister
Exactly.
wrestling.
No. So my dad was like the token basketball dad
Okay.
in all these wrestling tournaments growing up and stuff. My dad was a good basketball player. Played with Bill Walton here in San Diego.
Okay, yeah.
Got a scholarship to Oregon to play at Oregon. So he's
Okay,
like,
so
my
we got some
dad's
skill in the blood.
My dad's 6'4", and me, I'm 5'8". My brother's like 5'10", and so we both wrestled in college. But
Well, you were just tired of him talking all that trash.
Totally.
You're like, I'm gonna get your legs, man.
Totally, yeah. It was funny. He'd come to the wrestling tournaments with all the other dads, and he'd be saying, you wrestlers just wrestled because you couldn't make the basketball team. All the wrestling.
And now you're like, shit, now I gotta win.
Yeah,
You're like, I
exactly.
can't not go home and have it.
Win!
Oh, man.
Totally, yeah. So yeah, wrestling was definitely a big part of my childhood, I guess. I played a lot of sports, but wrestling is what me
That's
and
the
my
one you
brother
set on.
both kind of like specialized in. I hate to even use that word, but it's what we focused on.
It's a path you went down.
It's a path we went down.
And you went to college for this.
yeah.
Yeah, you were,
Yeah.
from what I've heard, you were an all-American wrestler, went to, UC Davis. Go ahead and talk about that. I mean, Mark
Yeah.
Munoz was your
Yeah.
coach. You end up having a teammate and a coach in Uriah Faber.
Yeah.
I mean, just being around those minds, those talents,
Totally.
how did that really drive you as an individual, whether it's
Yeah.
wrestling or anything else, just
Yeah.
from kind of being around that?
Absolutely. So I've been really lucky to have had some incredible coaches in my life. I think even going back to my youth wrestling days, think about guys like Ken Smith. He's he was my youth wrestling coach, actually the guy that got me into wrestling.
Okay.
And Larry Meredith, those were my youth wrestling coaches. My high school wrestling coaches, Arnold Alpert and Lyndon Campbell. But I go away to college, and Urijah Faber, he was my teammate at first. He was one of the reasons why I went to Davis, because I went on my recruiting trip there, and spent the weekend with him and the other guys on the team. And he's an awesome guy and a great team leader, sort of. And so I had a great experience up there. And the coach, Lenny Zaleski, Mark Munoz, I just had a awesome group of guys that I spent time with in college as a college athlete. And a lot of those guys are my good friends till today, And so between my coaches and teammates that I've had over the years in wrestling has taught me a lot about just life and business and different things like that. So I've definitely been blessed. And now being very that team environment, I love being a part of a team. And so going from college wrestling and fast forward to today, now we're a part of a team at Fitness Quest 10, and I got a coach like Todd Durkin, or I've been really lucky in my life too, and exposed to a lot of great coaches.
So you're now the GM, right? You've been training for about 7-8 years, because
Yeah.
you've been here for about
Been here
9.
9, yep. So the first year and a half or so was at the front desk. Started training, so I've been training now, probably 6 or 7 years.
About
here.
7 years.
Yeah.
So, you came into training, and now you actually, although you have a fighting background, wrestling background, right? And you work with a lot of fighters now, right? I mean, you're actually good friends with Mike Chandler. You work with guys like Dominic Cruz. What from your previous wrestling days makes you almost feel really confident when you're in there like grappling, when you're in there working one-on-one. Because I think with a fighter, you have to be very personable. It's very one-on-one. How do you feel working with those demographics? Do you feel that wrestling and having that background helps you?
You know, college wrestling season is a freaking grind. Practices, morning, double day practices, cutting weight every week, making weight. Just the physical grind of wrestling. Some of these guys that were high level wrestlers like a Urijah or a Mike, and talking to them about like their MMA career and training right now, they're like, it's not as hard or hard on the body as like wrestling season. There is something that like when it comes to that, week after week of weighing in and competing every week, sometimes multiple matches in a day in a tournament, or whatever. So it's like I think it helps me just have that instant kind of connection. If I say, hey, if I'm working with Mike Chandler, I remember when I met him, it was like, hey, I wrestled at Davis. We started talking and he wrestled in college. We knew some of the same people. And so then as we get into training, I understand how he's feeling, where he's at in camp or whatever it is. And
you have that relatability. Yeah, you're like, I kind of understand it a little bit. So I get it.
Yeah.
When they're feeling tired, you kind of know that body feeling. You kind of can gauge with them a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that helps me being a strength and conditioning coach for these athletes, knowing that like I've been there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
for sure, man. So sweet, man. Yeah. So you train a lot of fighters, but that by no means is the only demographic you work with. I mean, dude, you're here at 5 a.m. doing your own workouts, working with people. You're working with groups of classes, right?
Totally.
Whether it's a volleyball team, a wrestling team, we've got the football, basketball, one-on-ones, working with fighters. I mean, dude, you kind of do it all. For you as a trainer, but now you're a GM. That must have been kind of a decision to make, right? Because a GM taking over what Todd has built, carrying that energy, carrying that torch, how did you take that when he first kind of approached you with that option? Because it's one thing to train and to love training and grind and be in that.
Yeah.
And now here's the next level. Here's a whole nother case.
Totally.
Jeff, we want you to be the GM of this place.
To be honest, I was excited and I think ready for the next step in growth and learning about new things, because as a trainer and a coach, I love training people. The fun part of my job, honestly, is working with the people still, like training people, working with my teammates, like when we're in the trenches,
Yeah, you love the trench work. You all about it.
But then there is the side of like managing a business that you're dealing with, like not fun. It's like,
here's the Excel spreadsheet, baby. There we
that
go.
kind of stuff, or the internet's down, the toilet's clogged. It's a small business.
All the things that add up.
You do.
The email's not working.
Email's not
what
working.
happened?
Yeah.
Shower went down. AC is not working. COVID. So there was a lot that came up.
Yeah, a lot that's come up, and it's been a great learning experience, and I love being around people and working with people and stuff like that has helped me as a manager, because you do have to deal with a lot of different personalities and clients that have all different levels of feelings and stress and anxiety. Same with employees and staff that dealing with different stuff, and then just keeping the day-to-day operations going smoothly is
I gotta ask though, man, so you're the GM, you kind of run this spot. Who is going to take that 5 a.m. class from you, bro? Come on, man. You got to get somebody. Get Matt over here doing it. Someone's got to teach that 5 a.m., bro.
I don't know, man. I've thought about the 5 a.m. and it's a big part of my routine.
Almost your thing now.
It's kind of my routine. I've been doing it for a long time. And
you screwed yourself. You set it too well up.
I know, I did. And so,
you get too good of a president the first year. Now they expect, it's 5 a.m. Jeff's going to be like, totally. Man, I was kind of like one Friday. But
yeah, exactly. No, now that I've been doing it for several years, I got to look back how many years we've been doing the 5 a.m. grind, and it's become kind of
But that's your thing, man.
But yeah, and I actually like it just for my own routine.
Yeah, for sure.
Having that 5 a.m. workout in my schedule is tough, honestly. Like, got to put my feet on the ground and get going.
Make it happen, dude.
And
that's what makes you great, though. That's what makes you Jeff Bristol. That's why people show up at 5. They're like, you know what? If Jeff's doing it, I'm there. That's your great hoodie, dude.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Kind of, yeah.
I love it,
I have a lot of fun in the morning, and, I get a little crazy. And
I love it, dude.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, you've been here at Fitness Quest for a little over 9 years. You moved here about 9 years ago then also?
Okay. 10 years ago, yeah.
Okay, so about 10 years.
10 years ago, yeah.
But you are a family man. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I see it all over your social media. You love your family, which is amazing, dude. It's so cool to see. So everyone's in Southern California for the most part.
Yep. Me and my brother and my parents here in Scripps Ranch. My sister's up in LA, and so Yeah, we get to see each other pretty often.
And you met a girl that brought you down here.
Yep. So that ties in my sister actually to this story, because my wife and my sister became kind of like best friends in college.
Okay.
So they went to Point Loma Nazarene here in San Diego.
Okay.
And they went on a study abroad trip to China, and that's where they really like connected and hit it off. And so she knew about me because my sister was always confiding in her, like, oh my God,
Yeah.
my brother, he's not doing well.
Right.
He's back in jail. At first, I think, she came up to visit my sister and my parents, and my wife, Sam, she's an amazing person. She has this inherent desire to help people. She's a social worker. She works with a lot of, underserved communities and people. And so like between her work in the group homes and, after college, she went to work in group homes. She went to work for CPS and has worked as a social worker. So
not easy jobs by any means.
No.
Very gratifying, but oh gosh, talk about trenches. You're seeing some stuff, hearing things. It's not easy.
I mean, people always say like, gosh, Jeff, like, thank you so much for all you do. And it's really rewarding being a trainer or a coach, but I also get to see the work that my wife does, like here with families and kids and people that really need help, And so I was one of those people that really needed help. And I think when she came to visit my sister and my family, like she saw that. And so we got in this super deep conversation. I remember it was like her, me, and my sister like in the kitchen. I'm sitting there like strung out on heroin and meth, and had an ankle bracelet on, and we were talking about life. And, I think all three of us were like in tears. And, she was like, this was way back when I met her, whatever, 10 plus years ago. And she's like, we should hang out sometime. We should go on a hike or something. She was this gal. I was like,
so she saved you from the tower, huh?
Dude, I was.
You were the damsel in distress. She came in on the white horse, knighted up, and she was like, Jeff, get on the horse. I got you.
Yeah, she basically kicked my ass into getting my life together. But we hung out a couple times. I went back to jail. And her and I continued to communicate. Or I remember I asked my sister, I talked to her on the phone, and I was like, well, I'm in the jail, calling from the, payphone in jail. My mom and my sister were like,
you accept the charges. All right, hit the button. Yeah.
You've received a phone call from French Valley Detention. So I called my sister. I'm glad I could laugh about this now. But, and I said, hey, like, Taylor, give me your friend Sam's number. So I started writing her, we were writing letters back and forth, and then she was coming up from San Diego to the jail to visit me. This was still as we were just friends.
Dang.
So she'd come up like,
you a poet? What you writing these letters, man?
I don't know, but that is where our that is literally where the like initial flirting and whatever started happening. I was working out in jail and getting healthier, and so she's coming in and she's starting to see like my real personality and my, I'm physically looking a lot better, and so we kind of like had a little connection going there. And then the first time we hung out after we got out, that was like the first time that there was like something. Yeah.
That is awesome, man.
I wish I could say it's just like I got out of jail and, changed my life and it was all,
But that's what makes it real, is that there are bumps in the road and getting through those bumps, you know what I'm saying? And actually, it seems like after a couple of those bumps, you guys gave a baby bump. You got little boy Knox, right?
Yeah.
So he's about to be 4 at the end of this month?
Yeah.
A couple of weeks, right?
He's going to be 4 at the end of this month. And
cute little kid, man.
Yeah, he's awesome, man.
He was on TV. This dude was on the news. Yeah, man, like cutest face of all time. Your kid is already TV ready.
That's funny, man.
I should have done a podcast. Growing up, my brother always said I had a face for radio. So the fact that I'm doing this on camera is already a big step for me. But man, your little boy's got something, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, that's funny. That was actually through a client here at the gym. And he was the local weatherman for Channel 8 News, I should know, whatever. But they did a little thing on his birthday, put a picture of him on the news and stuff like that. So
that's cool, man.
That was really cool, yeah. So,
and that's your boy. That's your dude right there. I mean, if you're not here, it's like you're with him and he's next to you some way or another.
Absolutely.
You're going to be pulled up on a motorcycle. He's in the thing next to you. Like, that's what I picture. I mean, that's your little man.
He is, yeah. And I'm a big time, like, hands-on dad. Like, I grind. I'm at work a lot and I grind at work, but when I go home, it's like, it's me and Knox. And
checked out. This is it.
Totally. So, I mean, Knox is just one of the gifts of sobriety for me. Fitness Quest 10, this place right here where I'm sitting, I know at one point in my life, I didn't have any hope of a family, a career. I remember being, addicted to heroin, and, that's what my whole life was consumed by, just getting and using more drugs, and was in and out of jail. My family was all torn up. My mom and dad were just so depressed and in despair. And, my brother and my sister were hopeless and trying to, they didn't know what to do to try and help me. They tried everything. And even when I met Sam, it was like, her and I started dating, and I continued to go through some ups and downs. And, we went through some rough stuff as a couple before we ever got married, because I still, I would relapse, and then I'd be doing really good. And people, they would see kind of like the side of me that, was the real me, but the glimpses, and they'd get hopeful. And then, I'd go back and relapse. And so I was able to get and stay sober. I think number one, fitness, talk about family first. That you talked to me about my family, and then meeting my wife Sam, and then finding Fitness Quest 10, and the combination of those three finally broke that cycle of addiction. In age 29, and I've been sober 7 years now, and Knox is just it's just a gift of my sobriety, actually. Because I know the Jeff that is on drugs would never have any of these things,
Right.
Have the responsibility.
Doesn't get to enjoy any of this.
Yeah. So, Knox is he's an awesome guy, and he's turning 4 this month, and it's such a fun age, man. It's oh man. So
I've never really met Knox, but I'll tell you right now, I didn't grow up with my dad because of his personal struggles with stuff. But I guarantee that this means so much to him. And to your wife, who apparently is a rock star.
Yeah.
For, dealing with, as you're going through stuff. It's not easy.
Yeah.
Though, for anyone that's struggling going through stuff, it's, like you said, the family and the loved ones, they really go through so much struggles as well. So,
I remember Chris, you mentioning that to me, and I guess, I haven't had the opportunity to sit down and talk about maybe your childhood or your experience with it, but it does happen, and from my experience of going through addiction and going through it with my family, because like you said, it's not just the person that is going through it. I went through, a tough decade or so, let's say, of drug addiction, where I almost lost my life. I could have been in prison for a long time, but really, it's the whole family unit goes through it together.
Mm-hmm. There are so many people that go through it. And it's one of those things that a lot of people try to keep in the closet because it's very personal. And the way that they go through it, the timing in which they go through it, right?
And my mom said something to me this past week. Just this conversation reminded me, and she said, all that time that you were going through, some of your worst times, she said, I wish I would have, if I could go back, I would have been completely open and honest with everybody about what was going on.
Right.
Because I think here I was, this kid from, this good family, I was a scholarship wrestler, the community, things, and life in society in general. You don't want to talk about the real shit.
Right.
You don't want to talk about the mental health issues that you have or a family member has, or addiction or whatever else like that. It was this thing that, my parents and family were at a loss of what to do with me.
Mm-hmm.
Then they were also not wanting to share this super taboo or something that's usually more private. But I was I wish I would have just, if people would have asked me what was going on back then, I would have been Jeff's struggling really bad with addiction.
Mm-hmm. We're talking about, how you had to go through recovery. How long were you kind of dealing with those struggles?
In the high school and college scene, when I started to get introduced to drinking, smoking weed, had that personality that I always number one, is attracted to kind of the crowd, the party crowd, the whatever.
High energy going, we doing something in a sense.
When I was in high school, first time I tried weed, it just made me more, I loved it, wanted to do it more, wanted to be around the people that did it, which led me to try this, try that. So while I was partying and smoking weed or drinking or trying other drugs and doing other drugs in high school and college, it never really affected my life so bad to a point that I felt like this is this is a problem and I need to
I'm
stop.
still getting good grades. I'm still
I was high
functioning. Yeah.
I was high functioning as a high school athlete and student, you know, in high school and in college. It wasn't until in college that slowly things started to unravel. And that was because, like, in high school, it started with weed, alcohol and weed. And then I tried pills and coke and ecstasy. And still those are like kind of like party drugs, like only do them at parties and stuff.
Yeah.
By the time I was in college, where I was like, on a full ride scholarship pretty much at a Division I UC Davis, a good, college and everything. I started to do those things that alcoholics or addicts do. And that was like, I had to have whatever it was using or on something all the time. And then it led to me, trying crystal meth and heroin, and then starting to use that regularly. And so I couldn't, the charade was...
You couldn't stop.
I was able to keep the charade going for a while, because of my people skills and
on paper,
hiding it from family, friends, and coaches and stuff like that, and hiding it for so long that I was able to do that. But it just got to a point where, while I was in college, where I was like, it was when I started using meth and heroin. That got a hold of me, and I was using it by myself in a bathroom. It wasn't a party anymore. It was an addiction.
Yeah.
And then, I stopped showing up for practice and showing up for school, and then people got concerned, and, people wanted to do an intervention on me.
Right.
What ended up happening was I was on scholarship all through my junior, even through my senior year, and my coach, Lenny Zaleski, who I have a ton of respect for and have a very close relationship with to this day, and I see him, pretty regularly, and he had my other teammates coming to him saying, hey, Jeff's going off the deep end, and he didn't know what to do. So he was like, him and his wife tried to help me, and then they reached out to my parents and said, hey, we need to, they basically kind of like did an intervention on me. This was my senior year in college, and it was like I was still trying to go to practice and trying to keep the thought in my mind that I was going to try and wrestle again. And I was like an NCAA a Pac-10 placer, and as a sophomore, and it was like by that time.
Yeah, you weren't just some guy on the team. Like you were excelling.
I was one of the scholarship guys and stuff like that. And so my parents and my coaches basically intervened and said, Jeff, you need to go get some help. Wrestling is not, don't even think about
this
wrestling.
ain't nothing right now.
This is just you can't worry about that or school. I had to take a semester off school and go to rehab. I went to rehab my senior year in college for the first time.
And you said you've been 6 times.
So that was when I was 23. And it was my second quarter. We're on the quarter system at UC Davis, and I took my second quarter off, and I went to rehab in Palm Springs. And I remember my teammate won an NCAA title while I was in rehab.
You're in rehab.
And this was a guy that him and I were practice partners. Him and I would go back and forth all the time in the room.
It's almost like looking at a mirror.
It was like I remember being on a payphone at that rehab in Palm Springs, calling my parents, and my mom was like, Jeff, Derek won nationals. One of the toughest things I struggled with for a long time was how much I just,
let it fade away almost.
Yeah, just let opportunities go because, I didn't make the most of my high school. And so, that was that first time I went to rehab when I was 23. And, I was still young and not ready to admit or accept that I had this problem and I needed help. And, people were trying to help me, but I didn't even understand the depth of what I was dealing with at that point. And
how strong those demons were.
I was kept I was always like, no, man, I'm just young.
I'm Jeff Bristol.
Yeah,
I'm a D1 college athlete. What are you talking about?
And, I just didn't. I was dumb. And I was clueless about really what was going on as far as my addiction. And so that first time in rehab, I got out, and it wasn't long before I was back to the same stuff. And I kind of went through that cycle there for, when I would say it was 23 to 27 or so, 28. those like 5 years,
Didn't know.
I'm glad there was somebody looking out for me during those times, because it was like, you know, I could have so easily died or gone to prison.
Weren't that far away from going to make a visit that you weren't coming back from.
Mm-hmm.
I hear you, man. Well, hey, dude, I'm really glad to hear that, you know, you had to go through some trials and tribulations. You had to go through 6 times. And I think a lot of people out there that are struggling, whether it's, you know, the family members and the support group around the individual themselves, this is not an easy battle. It's something that it's a bug that they can't get rid of. It is an illness, right? So for your family members to stick with you, you know, I'm really happy to see that the support group, you know, they stayed strong for you. They were your rock, and you made it all the way through. Especially your wife, who watched you in the middle of all this to get through all of that, man. It says a lot, not just for who you are, it says a lot about your family, about this community. 100%. And I'm really glad to see that it kind of went full circle and that you're right where you are now. If you could leave one message to anybody out there who might be struggling, or family, you know, out there who has a loved one that is struggling, what's one message, one piece of advice that you would give them?
You know, the family member of somebody who's struggling, number one is, you know, don't ever give up hope. I know there were times when my parents, my sister, my mom, they're talking to each other about like, hey, what do we do when Jeff dies?
Yeah.
I had to deal with this with a client and friend of mine, and I'm friends with her and her husband and their son. He was about your age. I mean, how old are you?
28.
Yeah, he was, you know, I don't know if he was 26, 27, or 28, but he passed away this last couple months. You know, it was like, I want to say it was April or something. And here's a guy that had demons and battled with some addiction issues and passed away over an overdose. And, you know, to watch that mom go through that, and, you know, she did everything she could as a mom to try and, like, love, give him space, like, give him help when he needs it, but not help too much. It's
right.
Like, and I've been there with her because she's a client, and she worked, you know, and she'd confide in me. I'd try and give advice, and it's like, you don't know what to do with your kid or a family member when they're going through that stuff. And all you can do is the best that you can do, you know, not give up hope and love them. And sometimes, to be honest, the brutal, cold, hard truth about this disease is that fucking people die. And sometimes people never get out of it. And sometimes people never get clean or sober, and they never come back to their family, or they die or whatever. I'm like, I watched that happen, dude. And I've watched it happen before, but this was like pretty close to home. And
because now you can almost get both sides. You saw almost in a mirror the person going through it. You now almost see your mother and your parents, and you're thinking it's coming so full circle to you that you almost didn't even realize what happened to them when you were going through it.
Oh my God! I talked to this mom. I literally, like, it just was like me looking at my mom, and, you know, knowing that my mom was there in that point, and then to watch this mom lose her kid. It's like, that's what, you know, I guess it helps me, I guess, in my sobriety right now, is be somebody that people can come to for help or support. And, you know, like, watching this mom deal with this was just, you know, so terrible. And I, you know, went to another funeral this past year for a kid that I wrestled with in high school, and talking to his dad and mom, who struggled and done everything that they could. He went to like over a dozen rehabs in the last 15 years. And you know, so I know the power of this disease, and to see what they go through and stuff just gives me like
a deeper appreciation.
Appreciation and gratitude and conviction to, like, you know, I gotta, like, do the deal. And
and like you said, it's an illness, it's a sickness, you know, and like you said, sometimes it's easy for people on the outside to say, what a piece of shit, you know, what a bad person. But you wouldn't say that about someone if they had cancer. You wouldn't say that if they had another disease. And it is an illness, it is a disease. So, you know, for anyone out there, make sure that you look beyond that and make sure that you do see this person as an individual who is struggling against something that they, at this moment, almost don't have control over. And I think that's a big part. And I'm really glad to see that you made it through it, man. And I hope everyone out there that is going through it maybe can pick up some of your wisdom there and help carry through, whether it's the family member or the individual.
Absolutely. And I, you know, appreciate if anybody ever does reach out to me, I always say, hey, I'm an open book. I'm here for anybody. I work at Fitness Quest 10 in Scripps Ranch, San Diego.
Come on by.
Message me on Instagram.
Bring your tissues.
Exactly.
We got stuff to chat about.
Exactly. Yeah, no,
That's awesome,
I
man.
do appreciate when people reach out to me and want to talk about stuff.
Yeah,
Because,
real stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome, man. All right, Jeff. So what I want to go through next, a couple questions, make you choose one, scramble your brain a little bit.
Absolutely.
Got a couple random questions. We're gonna sign out and call it a day, man. So chicken or steak?
Steak.
Easily. Kettlebells or dumbbells?
Kettlebells.
Chutes or ladders?
Shoots.
Bugs Bunny or Mickey Mouse?
Bugs Bunny.
Okay. Candy cane or candy corn?
Candy cane.
Easy. Okay. All right, now I gotta ask you from your roots, man. In their prime, Mark Munoz, Dan Henderson.
Ooh.
I did it to you.
Ooh, how you gotta do that?
I'm gonna make you choose too, because they're gonna see it. No, I'm kidding.
I'm rooting from the heart there. I'm gonna say Mark Munoz.
There we go.
That's my guy right there.
That's your man. I
Munoz
love it.
is the man, dude. I love that guy. He's a great coach, great person. I know Dan's a badass.
But you riding with your boy. I love it.
I'm riding with my boy.
That's how you do it.
Yeah.
Now, you've had a lot of awesome Halloween costumes since you've been here at Fitness Quest 10, dude. Which is your favorite? Which one do you think you rock the best?
Oh man, I think I have to say this year.
Yeah?
We had so much fun doing
The Kiss
outfit. Oh my gosh, I knew this year's theme was gonna be fun. And I brought it up. I said, hey, we should do musicians and bands. Because it seems harder every year. We got to come up with a theme.
New thing?
We've done a whole slew over the last 10 years of all these different themes. Now we're going okay, well, what's left? And so this was super fun. And
because you go all in, man. I see some of these and I'm like, man, that's like a paint job. You ain't got stuff
and
done.
I tell you that Fitness Quest 10 is one of the funnest places to come to on Halloween because we're all dressed up and
it's a party.
Yeah, it's a party.
I love it, dude.
Yeah, we rocked it.
Cool. If you were to have signed the Pat Mahomes deal, $500 million, what's the first thing you're doing with your money?
Wow.
$500 million on the dotted line.
I think I would like to build a gym or a recovery house. It's still something that's like a bigger picture type long-term, bucket list goal of mine is to do something that gives back to either recovery or just underserved communities. I know what I grew up in, I think between my life experiences and seeing the work that my wife does and stuff like that, if I had $500 million, I'd like to build some community center in these underserved communities that don't always get the opportunities that we get.
For sure.
Yeah.
You're not going to buy half the Kansas City Royals?
No.
I would love to know what that feels
maybe with
like.
the other half of the
right, with the other part of it.
Yeah.
I love it. If you had a UFC fight this weekend, what's your walkout song?
I want to say something like a AC/DC, TNT.
Okay, yeah.
Something like that, yeah. One thing I love about working is that we get to bump music here all day long.
Oh, yeah.
And, we're bumping hip hop, we're bumping rock, and, music is energy, and I can see that. So something like that, some kind of high energy, maybe rock song, I think, yeah.
What's one thing that you would recommend everybody try, at least at some point in their life?
Working out with a trainer.
Nice, there you go. Accepting clients.
Exactly.
I like it.
Accepting clients as we speak. I've said this to people as I sit down with them in a consultation because I've worked with a trainer before. I think there's a lot of people that go throughout life without ever working out with a trainer or a coach. And I always tell people it's something that I don't think ever look back on and regret, You're going to take stuff from that person or those sessions that you'll keep with you forever. And so, I think working out with a trainer or a coach is something that everybody should try.
Yeah, I like it. What's one thing that you would never recommend anyone ever try?
Heroin.
That's a great, I love it. And so just dude, we've been talking about it. Just don't do heroin. Figure it out. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's really hard to kick.
Right? Oh.
Glad we could laugh about that.
You have your wife, Sam. You guys have been married for a little over 6 years now. She is your rock.
She's good.
Can you, in one word or phrase, describe what your wife means to you?
She's fierce. And she is, just a force of good. I think that was one of the first things that attracted me to her is that she just had this inherent kind of drive to want to make a change or to help people. and I was like in such a bad place in my life and surrounded with all this really bad stuff and people and stuff, was something that like really attracted me to her. And you know, she fought for my sobriety harder than I did, for sure, in the beginning. Yeah, don't mess with her.
Cool, man. That's awesome. And then, you know, as we finish up, what is one message that you could give to the fitness community? Just very vaguely, what's one message, one piece of advice you would like to give to the fitness community?
My shirt right here, I think it'd be a good message.
Yeah.
And, you know, something that we say around here on Fitness Quest 10, and I think it's, you know, applicable anywhere you're at, whether you're in recovery, whether you're in a company, whether you're in a gym or whatever. It's iron sharpens iron. And that goes back to, you know, who you're surrounding yourself with. Who is your network? Your network is your net worth. You hear all the things like, you know, you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Well, you know, I've seen that as a part of, you know, athletic teams, as a part of a company, in recovery. So if you're needing to get clean and sober, you surround yourself with some people with strong recovery. If you're wanting to be a great trainer or a coach, you surround yourself with other trainers or coaches. And you don't even have to physically do it.
I love it, dude.
Yeah.
Now, normally when we, you know, end this, I would usually have someone sign off, you know, and kind of in whatever fashion they would like. I would like to try something a little different today.
Yeah.
You have an amazing support group. Your parents, your brother, your sister, your wife, your son, Fitness Quest 10, all the coaches that have come before you. What I want to do is I want to give you that camera there. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds, and I want you to imagine that I just presented you with this award, the Jeff Bristol I've Made It Through Hell award. And I want to give you 30 seconds to talk to the camera. You can thank anybody and everyone.
Yeah.
And before I start playing the music.
Well, I definitely know that it takes a village. And sometimes, I don't know if it's, I feel a little selfish, or it almost doesn't feel right when people go, wow, you know, you're amazing that you did that, or congratulations, or, you know, you've done some amazing, you've overcome some amazing things. And really, it wouldn't have been without the love and support and, you know, from my parents, my sister and brother, my wife, Fitness Quest 10, Todd, and this community, and all the people that have been part of my life throughout my whole journey. It is, you know, it takes a village, and, you know, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for those people. So, yeah, I'm really grateful for my tribe.
Awesome, man. I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad that we made this happen, dude. Thanks for letting me come here to Fitness Quest 10. Jeff Bristol, if you guys have any questions, reach out to him. He's here for you guys.
Yeah, hit me up. I'd love to meet you.
We'll see you next time.